Holiday shopping will look a whole lot different this year as U.S. retailers continue to drop like flies. The current economy is choking the life out of several iconic retail chains, given that the higher cost of basic goods and services is forcing consumers to spend less. At the same time, the cost of running a business continues to climb, and disappointing sales numbers are putting many companies at risk of going bankrupt in the coming months. Have you noticed that empty storefronts are becoming far more common than they've ever been before? So far this year, big retailers already closed more than 4,000 locations. Industry experts estimate that figure will double by the end of 2024. They believe store closures will be 40% higher than they were in 2023. That will result in approximately 8 million square feet of vacant retail space across the United States. This means some of our favorite stores will no longer be open during the shopping season. Now, if you want to find out which companies are closing doors forever and conducting liquidation sales right now, stay tuned until the end of the video. Without further ado, here are 15 retailers at risk of going out of business this fall. 1. Big Lots amid worsening financial troubles and following a warning that its future is at stake, the discount retailer Big Lots announced plans to close more than 300 stores in the United States in the coming months. From January through June, the chain had already shuttered 40 locations after reporting a 10% decline in sales and a $205 million loss in the second quarter. Executives noted that the company's customers were spending less and cutting back on non-essential purchases. In a recent regulatory filing, Big Lots said it would increase the number of closures to 315 stores, part of an updated loan agreement to secure its finances. Lenders, however, were more dire about the state of the 57-year-old company's health. They noted that there is a significant likelihood of a potential default on a 2022 loan, and they have substantial doubt about the company's ability to remain operational. Since then, shares of Big Lots plummeted nearly 90%, signaling more challenges ahead for the retailer. 2. Tupperware. One of the most popular direct sales retailers in the U.S., Tupperware just filed for bankruptcy and announced it's permanently closing its last operating production plant in Hemingway, South Carolina. The food container brand is also laying off all its U.S. workers and relocating to Mexico. For years, Tupperware has been struggling due to the cost of maintaining its physical operations in America. In September, the company started Chapter 11 bankruptcy proceedings, saying that its finances had been severely impacted by the current economic environment and pointed to changing consumer behavior as more people start to avoid plastics and look for environmentally conscious ways of storing food. 3. Rue 21. Apparel retailer Rue 21 is going out of business right now after filing for bankruptcy for the third time. The former mall staple is in the process of shuttering all its 543 stores across the U.S. The Pittsburgh-based company had a debt load of over $200 million at the time of the filing. Approximately 4,900 employees will lose their jobs. In May, the company's CEO warned about underperforming retail locations, about inflation, and macroeconomic headwinds. Now, the teen fashion retailer is conducting liquidation sales before exiting the market for good. 4. 7-Eleven. Convenience store chain 7-Eleven is the latest victim of the U.S. retail apocalypse. Its parent company, 7&i Holdings, revealed in the latest earnings report that 444 stores will be permanently closed because of a variety of factors such as sluggish sales, slowing foot traffic, inflationary pressures, and shifting consumer habits. Now, the company noticed a major decline in consumption amongst middle and low-income earners because of rising prices, high interest rates, and a deteriorating employment environment. And the combination of those factors resulted in a 7.3% drop in traffic in August, which marked the 6th month of consecutive declines. Now, according to Neil Saunders, a retail industry analyst and managing director with Global Data Retail, the locations being closed have suffered from a decreased profitability as Americans battle with expensive grocery prices and reduce the amount they typically buy. In some areas, increased competition from online and value stores will also have taken their toll as consumers seek out lower prices, the expert highlighted. Number 5, the body shop. Well, Americans will also have to say goodbye to the cosmetics retailer, The Body Shop. After years expanding its business in the American market, the British company fell on hard times during the pandemic and failed to recover since then. Growing competition led sales numbers to flatline while costs continued to mount, rendering its stores unprofitable. Its U.S. subsidiary announced that the chain is no longer operational in North America, and all of its stores here and in Canada will begin liquidation sales immediately. 6. Soft Surroundings. Women's apparel retailer Soft Surroundings just filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and the Southern District of Texas's Houston Division said it will shut down all of its locations across 24 states. Now, early in the pandemic, the company was running twice as many stores as it was prior to the filing. However, court documents revealed the retailer never rebounded from lost sales and market changes during and after the height of the disease outbreak. To make things worse, excess inventory from stores that ended up being permanently closed forced the retailer to offer deep discounts that ultimately hurt margins and led to serious liquidity problems. The company started conducting mass store closings and layoffs last year, and by the end of 2024, all remaining locations will be gone, according to a statement from Executive Chair Bridget Lombard. 7. Burlington Stores. Now, Burlington is one of the largest department store chains in the U.S. It's been a mall anchor for decades. But now that more people are doing their shopping online, the company is suffering with a lack of foot traffic. According to Placer.ai, visits at Burlington stores located in indoor malls dropped by 5.8% over the past year. Since 2019, the retailer is seeing foot traffic rates consistently shrinking. Simultaneously, real estate costs have been persistently rising at U.S. malls, which is now forcing the company to downsize. As reported by CBS News, about 40 stores are scheduled to shut down for good this fall. Many more remain at risk and are relying on holiday sales to recover. 8. Home Depot. With high mortgage rates keeping millions of potential buyers out of the housing market right now, home improvement retailers are having a real hard time navigating through the current economic headwinds, and Home Depot seems to be one of the hardest hit. Just a couple of months ago, the company's former CEO, Bob Nardell, warned that more layoffs were coming because the government's monetary policies are killing middle and lower market enterprises. Demand for home renovation projects has been alarmingly low this year, according to Nardell. Consumers are feeling less optimistic about their finances, which is causing them to postpone big expenses. The retailer's outlook for the rest of the year is not positive. Executives expect sales at stores open at least a year to decline between 3% and 4%, and full-year earnings per share to fall between 2% and 4%. They're reducing their brick-and-mortar footprint too. Dozens of locations in Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, New Jersey, New York, North Dakota, Ohio, Vermont, and Wisconsin will go out of business before year's end. 9. Petco. Pet supply retailer Petco is on Moody's bankruptcy watch list thanks to its huge debt of $1.7 billion. For years, most of the company's profits have gone to paying that off, but still, Petco is nowhere near being debt-free. Even though the company did pretty well during the pandemic when more households got pets, sales took a dip over the past couple of years, squeezing the retailer's bottom line. At the moment, Petco is making less money than it should to remain operational over the long term, making lenders and investors fear the company will go bust sooner rather than later. So far this year, several locations have closed doors for good as Petco attempts to cut on costs by eliminating unprofitable stores. The most recent closings happened in Montgomery, Alabama, North Andover, Massachusetts, and Arlington, Virginia. 10. The Container Store. Just like Tupperware, the Container Store is having a hard time attracting new customers. After experiencing a boom during the pandemic as people stayed at home and needed products sold by the retailer, lately stores are looking quite empty. With fewer people interested in buying containers at brick-and-mortar stores, the chain has tried to implement creative strategies to get more consumers in. They even started accepting coupons offered by Bed Bath & Beyond after their bankruptcy and offered 10 to 60% discounts to get rid of excess inventory. But none of that has seemed to help. Earlier this year, CEO Satish Malhotra said that he would take a 10% pay cut on his base salary so the company's 5,000 employees could get their annual merit raises. Now, the announcement came after the retailer saw a 20% drop in sales and was delisted from the New York Stock Exchange. About 149 locations are scheduled to shut down by 2025. Thousands of layoffs are expected to occur as a consequence of the closings. 11. Conn's, the Texas-based home and furniture retailer Conn's, has just filed for bankruptcy and hundreds of stores are at risk of closing. Before it sought Chapter 11 court protection, Conn's had already eliminated 73 locations from its operations this year. A debt of more than $1 billion is forcing the company to liquidate its assets and stores as it attempts to restructure its business. Well, the retailer's been in the market for 134 years. It owns several brands, including Badcock Home Furniture, now also in danger of going down. For decades, Conn's has focused on growing its physical operations, but the expansion happened faster than the market could absorb it. A large number of stores have struggled to turn out a profit, saddling the retailer with debt and high overhead costs. In an April report, Conn's announced it finished out 2023 with a year-over-year net loss of almost $77 million. And since 2021, the company's shares have plunged by 98%. Conditions aren't looking good, and if Conn's fails to put its finances in order, this may be the end for the retailer. 12. Kmart. Believe it or not, Kmart is still alive. The bad news is that the countdown for its final day has already begun. By the end of this month, the last Kmart store in the U.S. will close its doors forever. Once the 15th largest corporation on the planet, one of the biggest big box store chains in America, Kmart's decline has been accelerated by the ascension of other chains like Walmart and Target. Now, the company has filed for bankruptcy multiple times. It only survived until a point due to a merger with Sears. But shopping habits have changed. Both retailers weren't able to keep up, which ultimately caused their demise. 13. Barb Stores. Now, Barb Stores, the popular apparel retailer that has clothed families across the Northeast for over 70 years, is in the process of permanently closing all of its locations in the U.S.'s latest retail casualty. The iconic retail chain was unable to secure the finances needed to maintain operations, CEO Dave Barden revealed. Starting this month, Barb Stores is liquidating its inventory in all its locations throughout Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, and Rhode Island, offering discounts between 30% and 70%. 14. Foxtrot and Dom's Kitchen. Grocery retailers Foxtrot and Dom's Kitchen and Market are exiting the market just 5 months after the two companies merged and became Outfox Hospitality. The closures of the two Chicago, Illinois-based companies include dozens of locations spread across the cities of Chicago, Austin, Texas, Dallas, Texas, and Washington, D.C. They also had a nationwide e-commerce presence, which will similarly cease to exist. It is with a heavy heart that we must inform you of a difficult decision we have had to make. After much consideration, we regret to announce that Foxtrot and Dom's Kitchen and Market will be closing their doors in 2024, the two companies said in a statement. We explored many avenues to continue the business, but found no viable option despite good faith and exhaustive efforts. And 15. Ted Baker. The famous British fashion retailer Ted Baker was filed for bankruptcy in both America and Canada as demand for higher-end designer clothing and accessories continues to wane. Given that even upper-income Americans, those making $200,000 a year or more, are also curbing spending to be able to get by each month, luxury retailers, which already have a smaller customer base, are experiencing a serious consumer slowdown right now. And while sales numbers have been disappointing for quite some time, operational costs are much higher for luxury retailers compared to traditional apparel retail chains. August marked the 10th consecutive month of sales declines for Ted Baker in America. The company first filed for insolvency proceedings in Toronto, Canada, and a few months later its New York operator filed for Chapter 15, leading franchisees in Houston and Los Angeles to follow the same move. At least 40 stores will conduct liquidation sales this fall before going out of business, which means you still have the chance to buy high-quality clothing and accessories for discounted prices before the holidays. Well, that's some good news, huh? Now, the loss of these companies will certainly be felt by a legion of loyal customers. The industry is tough, and it's always evolving. Brands that do not adapt to changing consumer patterns fast enough are left behind. Some will fail, but others will rise. Although this is a natural process, the current economic environment is making conditions even more difficult for U.S. businesses. The consequences go beyond dark storefronts and fewer options for consumers. Each bankruptcy causes hundreds or thousands of job losses, and they ultimately hurt the nation's economic activity. Seeing so many previously established brands going bust is a sign that things are deteriorating more rapidly than we all thought. If our businesses are in decline, the entire country is in decline. But several people will only come to this conclusion when it's already too late. What do you think? We'll look forward to reading your comments, and thank you very much for watching.